We prep so that we can have control over our sovereignty, so that we can have control over what we do instead of giving our control over to someone that has a loaf of bread. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. This is a prepping video. I want to read this real short article for you because it reiterates what I've mentioned several times. Prepping is a way for you to keep control over your sovereignty. Not only is prepping a way for you to be able to sustain your standard of living in case crises of any type happen, but it is also a way to keep your sovereignty, meaning to keep control over the things that you can and can't do. If you don't have preps, if you don't have things put away that you may need in the future, then you're going to be at the behest of those that do and will be willing to dish it out to you, although they will say at no cost to you. It will cost you more. It will cost you your sovereignty. It will cost you the control that you have over the decisions that you make. Ask yourselves, if you or your children or you and your children, your family, were starving, what would you do for that loaf of bread? Now ask yourself this question. If you and your family had the supplies that you needed, what would you do for that loaf of bread? I'm sure that the answers for both of those questions would be different. One, if you're starving and you have no way of getting food or sustenance, and your children are starving, you would probably do anything to sustain life. You would probably do almost anything that anyone asked of you, and or you would do things that were horrific that you would have never thought of doing in order to sustain life. But what if you're prepped? What if you have those things that you need to get through a crisis? Now, I'm not sure if many of you know this gentleman here. His name is Gregory Mannarino, and I do follow him. And I will say that sometimes he gets a little goofy, but he is a good person at heart. Yes, some people are going to say he's a Mason and all this kind of stuff. I don't care, ladies and gentlemen. The truth is the truth no matter where it comes from. Do your own research and figure out what your truth is. But what this article states, in my opinion, is accurate as far as what the system that's in place now is trying to do in order to control you, in order to have more control on your life than what it does already. They want people desperate. People are not desperate enough. You still waiting for that stimulus check? Are you still waiting for that little $1,200 that they've been promising for the last 6-7 months that still hasn't gotten here? Why haven't you gotten it yet, ladies and gentlemen? The big corporations keep getting bailed out. The Fed keeps buying stuff. They keep buying mortgage-backed securities, pretty much bundles of mortgages that aren't worth anything. So they buy it from the banks because the banks know that if they sell it in the open market, they won't get anything close to what they put into those mortgages. So what does the Fed do? They buy it from the banks, 100 cents to the dollar, sometimes more. Sometimes the banks even make a profit by selling it to the Fed instead of selling it in the open market. Well, what have they done for you? Well, it seems that the American people are not yet desperate enough. Greg Mannarino says the stock market will continue to rise for now and expect more debt after the election to spur inflation. The big goal now is to destroy the middle class and make people desperate, and they aren't desperate enough yet. Another lockdown that impoverishes more and takes the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands more people could very well be coming down the pike. Already more Americans are going hungry today than we have seen in the last 75 years. That's pretty profound. That says a lot about the current financial state of affairs in this country right now. But unless people get more desperate, they won't be taking the central bank's new digital dollar. In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, that is one of their major goals. One of their major goals is to get people hooked on free money, because this money is not being earned. This money is just being created out of thin air and then doled out to the people. It is just a huge redistribution of wealth. The more money that is created from thin air, the less that your dollars are worth. But unless people get more desperate, they won't be taking the central bank's new digital dollar, which will be tracked, traced, taxed, and tied to a social credit score. It's happening in other countries right now. And if we, the American people, if we give them the power to do the same, do you really think that they won't? Do you really think that one day when you have your digital wallet that they've been putting money into because you've been good, do you really think that when you go to make that Craigslist purchase at a gas station somewhere or at a parking lot of a Home Depot or whatever, do you really think that when you complete that transaction that eventually you won't get taxed on that transaction? Either the buyer or the seller or both. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be full control. In addition to morals, money is part of the foundation of a nation. With bad money, the nation's foundation will eventually crumble. So once we have bad money being managed and controlled by bad people, they will have whatever they want from you because we will be at their behest. That is why having good money is so important for a nation to thrive and survive more than the average 250 or so years that a nation survives. You can be eliminated at will and prevented from spending money if the powers that shouldn't be decide it. This should honestly horrify everyone. Our permanent enslavement is around the corner if we don't wake up and stop letting political psychopaths and central bankers dictate our lives. Poverty must occur to create dependence on the system in order for this to work. Once you understand the end game, you should know their next moves, at least to some extent. This market is all fake. Everything is staged. Ladies and gentlemen, this article pretty much says a lot of what I've said for a long time. This market is faked. It is fake, and it has nothing to do with how our economy is doing. The middle class is being ravaged. It's being eliminated in order to create what is called a two-tier or a two-class system. One of the haves, one of the have-nots. And they are waiting for the day when the people are so desperate because they are so destitute that they will accept anything that they roll out. And that is why all central banks in the U.S. have been ordered to have a digital wallet for every American by the 1st of January 2021. They are going to roll this out and the American people will accept it. Because more than half of the American people right now, in my opinion, are desperate to get out of what has been created around them in the way of job losses, in the way of businesses having to close down. I hope you got something out of this, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we prep. We prep so that we can have control over our sovereignty, so that we can have control over what we do instead of giving our control over to someone that has a loaf of bread, because we did not think ahead and did not prepare that loaf of bread for the future to feed our families just in case something happens. So continue to prepare. Don't stop. Don't listen to the naysayers. They are the ones that will be asking you for help when the day comes. So continue to prepare. Thank you very much for joining in today. I do have a live stream this afternoon at 3 p.m. Alaska time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. We will chat it up a little bit and we will talk about something that I'm pretty passionate about, that I've been noticing is going on more and more, and it's somewhat disturbing to me. Having said that, remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm the Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.